How about expanding the library, get some new books in there?
Hello everybody, welcome back, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if this is the first time you've seen this, and also welcome back to the library tour. So this is another video where I'm going through my shelves. I've been through the cartoonist stuff, I've been through that part 1, that's part 2, this is part 3, which is the one above, which is the top shelf, and I've got the front row of the top shelf there, which I'm going to go through, and I'm going to go through the other side. And please comment on the books that you see in this video. I'd love to know what you think of the authors of the books, or if you've read them, or if you haven't read them, or if you wanted to read them, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, there's going to be a few situations where there's lots of books from the same author in this row for definite. So, here we go. First one up is H.G. Wells. Now, I've spent my life saying the island of Dr. Moreau. And I keep seeing American booktubers saying the island of Dr. Moreau. Island of Dr. Moreau. The island of Dr. Moreau. I don't know what the right one is, but I need to try and find H.G. Wells to ask him. But in the meantime, until I find him, there we go. It's one of my favourite books. It's definitely, is it? Yeah, it is my favourite H.G. Wells book. I really like this book a lot. And there we are. That was the first one on that shelf. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So I've mentioned this a number of times on the channel, and the last time I mentioned the book itself was when I talked about my Hall of Shame. I think it was. No, it wasn't my Hall of Shame. It was my classics I want to read, and still haven't read it yet. So One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest should be read before Christmas. Another one I haven't read yet, Dead Silence. I keep looking at this, and I want to read this before Halloween. So this is going out in November, and I'm filming this in September. Hopefully I've read it by the time you're looking at this, because I'm sure I'm going to love this. S.A. Barnes, Dead Silence. Let me know what you think of this book. And maybe I can tell you what I thought, because I've already read it. Maybe. Arthur C. Clarke, Rendezvous with Rama. This was in my, I'm pretty sure this was in my Hall of Shame. But I did read Childhood's End a little while ago, and I did like it. I think Clarke's writing is better than Asimov's, and obviously both of them are really great with their ideas, but I think his writing is slightly better. We'll see. This is a First Contact book, and First Contact is always interesting. So here we go, Rendezvous with Rama. Right, I've got a bunch of, well, I've got 4 Roald Dahl books here. So there's The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, and 6 more stories. So there's that one. And Someone Like You, another collection of short stories. And The Great Automatic Grammatization and Other Stories. So some of these I had loads of multiple copies, and part of that big on the haul I did of those hundreds of books I got rid of, some of those were duplicates of these books. And then I found the Complete Short Stories Volume 1, which is quite cool. So there's going to be some repetition there, and there is actually some repetition just in these 3. So yeah, I would like to do a video on Roald Dahl's short stories next year. So if you're a fan of Roald Dahl, or you're intrigued, or you particularly like his short stories because they are different to his children's books, then let me know in the comments. I'd love to know what you think, and I am definitely going to do a video on him next year. So that's Roald Dahl. Another Jose Saramago. So I'd love to know if you like Jose Saramago, because he is mentioned so infrequently on BookTube. Certainly the people I speak to on BookTube, some of the BookTubers I've made friends, don't seem to talk about Jose Saramago. And I think he's really cool. And Blindness in particular I absolutely love, but I've read others by him as well. And it's quite a dry style of writing, but I think he's a really interesting guy. So this is Balthazar and Blamunda. So I didn't know about this when I bought it, but if I see a Saramago, I get it. So that's another one. Project Hail Mary. Still haven't read it. And I like The Martian a lot. And actually, even though there was a lot of hate for it, I recently saw someone say that they liked Artemis. I think who was? I think it might have been Robin from Bookends and Biscuits said they liked Artemis, which is cool because I liked it and I felt a bit guilty liking it because people were saying that the portrayal of women was bad, and I was like, really? I didn't notice. But this seems to be universally loved, and I need to read this. And it'd be nice if he's written 3 books and I really like all 3 of them. That'd be nice. But yeah, I need to read this. I had to say I was so excited to get it as well, and then I still haven't read it. John Scalzi. This is the next book in the Old Man's War series. So I've read Old Man's War, and this is the next one. And I've got this and one other, and I need to read it because I really do like Old Man's War. I like John Scalzi. Okay, now there's a bunch of Le Guin books. Let's have a look at this. So I've bunched them all together. So there's Lavinia, which is, I think it's set in ancient Greece, Sparta. Yeah, so Lavinia by Ursula K. Le Guin. And then back to a science fiction, you've got the Unreal and the Real, Volume 1, and the Unreal and the Real, Volume 2. So those 2 are like companion things. I remember I got those in FOP, so both of those would have been £7. And then Worlds of Exile and Illusion, more short stories. And this is, I saw Kananadi review this, and I find her videos really interesting. And this was possibly before I even had a channel, actually. I can't remember. But anyway, I always find it intriguing what she's going to say about Ursula K. Le Guin. And I do remember that she particularly liked this book, so I was quite pleased to find it. So it's a beautiful cover, isn't it? Always Coming Home. Another one in her Hainish books. So that's that one. I've got a book of short stories that I found with an awesome cover by Zen Cho called Spirits Abroad. That's on that shelf as well. Right, we've got some classics here. The Hustler by Walter Tevis. I want to try and read a few Walter Tevis stuff in the next little while, next 6 months. Saul Bellow, Seize the Day. I need to put this aside because this will be good for this month if I can squeeze it in. So Seize the Day by Saul Bellow. This was one that I just found down the road really cheap, and I thought I'd give it a go. So I don't know if I would have bought it full price, but who knows? I might love it. Here we go. We've got some James Baldwin now. Okay, James Baldwin, Go Tell It on the Mountain. So I know I would normally keep Giovanni's Room up there as well, but I put it downstairs because that's I am about to start that tonight. I'm going to start Giovanni's Room tonight. This is Go Tell It on the Mountain. And Another Country, which I thought was going to be my first James Baldwin proper full novel, but I'm going to start Giovanni's Room instead. But Another Country, I am looking forward to reading that one. And so Matt Haig gets a lot of, I don't know, he does get a lot of praise, it's got to be said, but he does get a lot of people that I don't know, there's also a contingent of people that sort of write him off and say he's awful. And I have been disappointed by some of the ones I've read by him, to be fair, and I didn't like Midnight Library much. I thought it was too, what's the word, predictable, I guess? I don't know, dwelt too much on the obvious. I would really like this, The Humans. This was the first book I read by him, and I think it was what put him on the map. But I think it's really good. I don't think the mental health stuff is too heavy-handed. I think it's funny. I love the premise. And the last bit of the book, there's this really important bit in the book. There's 4 pages of this awesome stuff when... I won't spoil it by telling what it is, but it's just a really cool element to the book that happens at the end. And I think that bit is written beautifully. So, yeah, I do think this is a really successful book, but I have recently seen some people saying they really intensely dislike Matt Haig on here. And, yeah, I think this is a good one. I think the others I've read have been just okay, but this is really good, I think. Humans. Mogwell, the artsy croshaw again. I've been praising and... recommending Yahtzee Croshaw in this channel for quite a while. So this was his first novel, and it's like based on his history with like game reviews and stuff. So there's like a game element to that. This is Trouble with Lichen by John Wyndham. So for some reason I couldn't find Trouble with Lichen in that edition that I've got those batch of John Wyndham ones. I don't know if you've seen the previous video I did like this on the previous shelf, but there's a bunch of John Wyndham with a particular edition, and this isn't in that edition. I really like Trouble with Lichen though. I heard someone say they thought it was one of the weaker ones of his, but I think it's one of his best. I really liked it. So I thought he explored the premise really well. It's an interesting premise, but I thought it's explored quite fully, and he comes up with some interesting ideas. So yeah, I think this is one of the good ones. Oh look, another Jose Saramago one, All the Names. I don't know much about this one, and I haven't read this. But let me know if you've read All the Names by Jose Saramago. Tell me if you, just any opinion about Jose Saramago would be good, because he just doesn't seem to be talked about much. Oh, and there's another one, Skylight by Jose Saramago. So, to be fair, I think there's going to be even more behind in the, because this is the front shelf. Behind, because they're all double-breasted, there's going to be even more Saramago. So there we go, Skylight. There. And now the rest of that shelf is all one man. So we have Supercan by J.G. Ballard. We have Crash by J.G. Ballard. Yeah. Disaster Area by J.G. Ballard. The Drought by J.G. Ballard. War Fever by J.G. Ballard, which was the first thing I read by him, actually, which is really interesting. The Terminal Beach by J.G. Ballard. You can see I got that in that place in Bognor, because they've got those funny price tickets. The Day of Creation, that's the most recent J.G. Ballard one I've bought, actually. I found that in a second-hand shop and I hadn't got it. So The Day of Creation. High Rise, which I did a review of beginning of the year, which blew my tiny socks off. High Rise. The Atrocity Exhibition. The Unlimited Dream Company. This is non-fiction. The User's Guide to the Millennium, Essays and Reviews by J.G. Ballard. I've got tons of J.G. Ballard, it's got to be said. Kingdom Come. Another one of the ones with the edition like the Supercan one I had. Cocaine Nights, J.G. Ballard. I got quite a lot of J.G. Ballard. And then just before I get to these last two, Millennium People by J.G. Ballard. I got this on eBay really cheap for a hardback in really good condition. That's really cheap. As I said before, I prefer not to get hardbacks. I like the tactile nature of paperbacks, but this was like a bargain. So Millennium People, J.G. Ballard. And then to finish off that shelf, well actually that front bit of that shelf is the Complete Short Stories, Volume 1 and Volume 2, huge tomes by J.G. Ballard. J.G. Ballard, my little collection of J.G. Ballard, there's loads of them. So yeah, let me know what you think of this man. Well, actually, his writing more than the man. So please, yeah, let me know what you think of J.G. Ballard. And that is the front bit of that shelf. So, moving on. So, the front part of that shelf is the following. There's a short story collection here that is edited by Neil Gaiman and Al Sarantonio, called Stories. And there's a really interesting selection of people that have contributed to this. And it's just a really nicely packaged anthology. I would like to bring back my Spotlight on Short Stories idea, which I did a little bit of. Yeah, I'd like to do that. But this is a good anthology. Vicious by V. Schwab. That's a really good book. And actually, the feature of one of my first ever, I think, BookTube video. I reviewed 5 books, and this was one of them. So, V. Schwab Vicious, really, really good. It's about 2 supervillains, and it's just about them. So, it's kind of from their perspective. So, it's a bit different, but it's really cool. Right, so there's a few... oh, is there? No, forget that. Kazuo Ishiguro, The Buried Giant. So I have got a few of these, or a few by this author. I've got Never Let Me Go as well somewhere. But The Buried Giant, again, a book that I need to read. I haven't got that. One of my Philip K. Dick books has departed from the rest of the Philip K. Dick books. Time Out of Joint. There's a bunch of science fiction to my right that I will get to at some point, but not on those shelves. So Time Out of Joint, I didn't really like this much, so I haven't got rid of it because I feel like it was me and not the book. So I want to reread it again. It was only just like a couple of years ago I read it, but I didn't like it. But I'm going to read it again. So there we go. That's Time Out of Joint. All right, what we got here? This could have been with the other Roald Dahl books. So Switch Bitch, I've got that as well. Another adult short stories. I've got Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man. I nearly read that this year. Need to get on it. It's a big one, so that'll probably take me for 2 or 3 weeks to read that. But I really do want to read it. Harry Harrison, Build a Galactic Hero on the Planet of Robot Slaves. Slightly different to Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man. It's an eclectic collection. That's Build a Galactic Hero. It's just a silly book. But, you know, you got to laugh and you got to enjoy life. This is a really small thing. This is part of the Vintage Minis thing. So the Vintage imprint is similar to the Penguin Classic kind of thing. And they decided to bring out these little books. So this is really short. It's not from anything, is it? I don't think it's from anything. So I could try this for Shorty September, to be fair. So Desire by Haruki Murakami. So there's that. I'll put that aside, actually. I might read that soon. And Outrageous Fortune. I read the back of this in Forbidden Planet, and I was really pleased to see it. But I've had it ages and not done it yet. Tim Scott. Have you read that? Please let me know if you've read Outrageous Fortune. And I don't really even remember what it's about. So, in this outrageously funny novel, one of the most outrageously inventive new writers to break onto the sci-fi scene in decades dares to ask the dangerous question, don't you hate it when this happens? I can't read all of that. I haven't got my glasses on. But anyway, I read the back and it looked interesting and fun, but I haven't read it yet. All right, here we go. There's some others here. We got A Horse Walks Into a Bar. So this was recommended by Waterstones, and I think I bought it on their recommendation. I think I started to read it, but I wasn't really getting into it, so I've kept it to look into it again. And I don't know, I feel like if I'm in the right mood, I really like it. It's a bit the way it's written is slightly I don't think it's very sequential. It's a little bit more angular. You've got to kind of delve a bit and unravel it. But yeah, Horse Walks Into a Bar, from what I remember. This is a Aldous Huxley book, Ape and Essence. So I'd never heard of this when I found it. And I was like, ooh, Huxley, something I didn't know. So I need to read that. Naked Lunch. So some people hate this book and some people absolutely adore it. So there we go, Naked Lunch. These two books, Natural History of Dragons and The Tropic of Serpents. So these are two important dragon books. If you're into fantasy, then Marie Brennan has sort of made her mark with this dragon series. So I'm looking forward to getting into these, but haven't yet. As I said, this whole shelf is either TBR stuff or my favourite stuff. So you should be seeing a bit of that. Mary Shelley's The Last Man. So recently, I have had this a while, probably about 2 years, and recently Michael K. Vaughan reviewed it and said he thought it wasn't that great. So we'll see. I will get to it at some point. But I'm kind of I'm expecting it to be quite slow, but clearly she's ahead of her time though. So the great Mary Shelley. This is cool. This is the Annotated Alice. So you may know, if you've seen some videos on my channel, that I absolutely love Alice in Wonderland. And this isn't the Annotated Alice, so it's got sort of notes on the text, which I think is really cool. So I really love the fact that I've got this. It's an awesome cover as well. How good is that cover? Love it. Only Human. This is the last of the trilogy that made Sylvain Neuvel's name when they first started producing books. What was the first one called? Sleeping Giants, wasn't it, the first one? And I really like Sleeping Giants. Second one is quite good, but not massively fast, but it's quite good. And I need to read this, so I've read the trilogy. So, is it the Themis Files? I think the series is called. I think it's called the Themis Files, something like that. But yeah, I did like the first one. Okay, so what's this? More Saramago. So this is the Gospel According to Jesus Christ. So just like that Philip Pullman one I talked about in a different video, this is a little bit blasphemous, deliberately blasphemous. So this is almost like a political statement as much as anything else. But always interesting, Saramago. And again, this is also similarly blasphemous, Cain by Saramago. So that's all good. Interview with a Vampire, Anne Rice. I should read this before Halloween. I'll put this aside. I keep putting books aside. I haven't got time to read all these books. Kafka. The Essential Kafka. Say no more. Say no more. The Essential Kafka. Awesome stuff. Okay, so this is more Murakami. The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle. Tell me if you've read that. One of his most celebrated books. I love this book, Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I talked about Blake Crouch in the last video. I really, really, really love this book. So, yeah, I will probably read it again for fun. I might read it every year because it's so much fun to read. So, yeah, Dark Matter. I saw someone say they didn't like it on BookTube recently. Well, that was weird. David Wong. John Dies at the End. I think I'm going to like this. But something keeps putting me off, and I don't know what it is. I blame the cat. What's this? I wonder where that went. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button by F. Scott Fitzgerald. So, and actually another short one. The Best of John W. Campbell, which does feature, I'm pretty sure it features Who Goes There. Yeah, Who Goes There is on there. I've got a collection of John Campbell stuff called Who Goes There as well. But this is the best of. Jabberwocky. How cool is that? Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. No, sorry, Ralph Hoover. Jabberwocky by Lewis. What am I on about? Oh yeah, so this is a novelisation of the film Jabberwocky, Terry Gilliam's film. So that's pretty cool. Another Roald Dahl book. So Kiss Kiss by Roald Dahl. I need to put these together. So Roald Dahl's Kiss Kiss as well. Another collection of his stories. Another collection of stories here, Dark Stars. I bought this in Forbidden Planet, I think. And these, look at these authors. It's pretty cool. And I'm going to be... Well, this is another one that I could try and fit into. I can't fit in, like, a dozen books before Halloween, can I? Again, you're watching this in November, so you're thinking, well, it's already gone, mate, so you're late. What's this one? Blood Meridian. Literally, not this past June on the Range, but the one before, I was going to read this for the TBR, and then I bottled out. I thought it was going to be really gory, because I've heard it's really gory and violent, and I just thought, am I in the mood for that? So I didn't read Blood Meridian, but I have it for when I'm ready. Samyatin's We. We've got an End of the World book club, and I don't think we've decided to read this yet, but I've forgotten. I think we might be reading it in November. So when you're watching this, I might actually be reading this as you're watching it. I could be somewhere rereading this. It's a great book, so I recommend reading Samyatin's We. It was the most important influence on George Orwell when he wrote 1984. Clearly, he would have been influenced by many things, but he was bouncing off his experience of reading that. Another Murakami here. So this is Hardboard Wonderland and The End of the World. This is like two stories that are kind of crossing together. So they're not linked, but they're kind of thematically linked. And then one of my all-time favourite books, Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes, which again is not with the other Ray Bradbury stuff, so that's a little bit weird, but there we are. Another copy of Gulliver's Travels. I should probably get rid of one of them, because do I need 2 copies of Gulliver's Travels? Probably not. But there we are, the Wordsworth one. Ah! This must be... No, I don't know if this is don't know. I might have 2 copies of this. This is Philip Pullman's The Good Man Jesus and The Scoundrel Christ. So again, like I said with the Saramago one, this is very blasphemous, but awesome. Noam Chomsky's book on Palestine, literally called On Palestine. Here we go. So some more John Wyndham. So this is The Seeds of Time, and that is Chucky. So I do own those 2 books. I don't really like their covers. I don't like the covers of any John Wyndham books that I've ever seen, to be fair. It's a bit weird. For some reason, he seems to have lucked out on great covers. Well, this is Huxley's Brave New World. So, awesome stuff. This is one of my encyclopedias on science fiction. So I've got the big blue one by Clute downstairs as well. But this is the first one I had. And I do love this book. I've got a lot of affection for this book, and I think it's because I've had it for so long. So, yeah, I do love this book. The Encyclopedia of Science Fiction. There's a graphic novel of Harlan Ellison, but I need to do my graphic novel separately. So I'll just skim that one. And then just to end this entire thing, Sheriff of Yornamere. So Michael Rubens. It's Michael Rubens, isn't it? Yeah, Michael Rubens. Michael Rubens' book, The Sheriff of Yornamere. It's a horrific cover for one of my all-time favourite books. It's a wonderful book. It's really funny. It's great science fiction comedy. It's really, really good. Can't recommend it enough. And I have mentioned it a few times, but I'm mentioning it here again because it's in the library tour. Sheriff of Yornamere, get it. And you will smile, and you will laugh, and you will close the book after reading it saying, I had a good time. I hope you had a good time watching this. Please comment below on any of those books, and maybe you might say, that's a large amount of J.G. Ballard books. I don't know. Thanks for watching. Bye.